Hi, Sheila Keeter here. I am the teacher for inclusion. And today I'd like to talk about high school English language arts curriculum. Teaching English language arts curriculum can be really daunting in high school because you don't have a lot of support, especially when it comes to novels and that sort of thing. So today I'd like to go over some survival lessons that I use in order to get through the year. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up my share screen here and show you an assignment. It's more like a book of lessons that I use throughout the year. And I'm going to start with, first I'll go over them. It's a one-pager, philosophical chairs, a narrative essay outline and template, an expository outline and template, a literary analysis outline and template, mentor sentences, a grammar guide, and do now journal responses. So the first one I would like to talk about is the one-pager assignment. The purpose of the one-pager is to analyze themes and characters. And it's a very creative, in-depth way for students to analyze a novel. So you can see here I have a template that's used, and here are some one-pager examples that students have put together. The next thing I want to talk about is philosophical chairs. Philosophical chairs is a collaborative and organized collaborative discussion over a controversial topic. Now, there's a lot of work that goes into the pre-actual collaborative talk. And so I'll go over what those items are, but once you have those in place, then it's really simple. So I have a long list, as you can see here, there's a long list of topics that can be used. So if I'm ever finished early with a lesson or I have extra time, I can always pull up a topic and do a quick philosophical discussion. But typically it's a longer process. So here's a second list. Then there's a before the debate, during the debate, and after. Students have a graphic organizer. There's rules of engagement for philosophical chairs. There's checklists, and there's a reflection sheet. The next lesson that I have that I use is the narrative outline and template. So the narrative is a very creative story written from first person point of view. Students usually make up the story rather than use their own experience, but they can do either. And with the narrative, I have a prompt with a checklist. We also do a plot structure diagram where we fill it out. And this is a great story to use for the narrative. It's a book called Nothing Ever Happens on 90th Street. There is a link here to the YouTube video for that. And basically, it's a story about a girl who has to write a narrative, and she's sitting on the stoop in her New York apartment, and she's watching everything that's happening on 90th Street. And so as different people are talking to her and she's realizing everything that needs to go into her narrative, they basically show examples of what needs to be in the narrative in the story. It's a great way, engaging way to teach narrative to students. I also have different types of plot structures that they can look at. So we have underdog, pursuit, justice, coming of age, so on and so forth. And then I make sure that they have an outline with information for their actual essay writing process. It's essential that they have a rubric, and it's essential that they do a self-edit. The next essay that I want to talk about is the expository essay, and this is the informational essay. Typically, this is done senior year today. It used to be done 10th grade year, but it's done senior year. With expository writing, I make sure that they have graphic organizers and they take notes. I also show 3 different videos about the different parts of the essay. We have a pre-write activity, and then they have an outline that they can follow step by step as they write their essay. They have a self-edit, always do a self-edit, a rubric, of course, And then we have the lit analysis essay. This is the typical essay that we all did traditionally growing up. But it's still a very complicated essay. So students need graphic organizers. I also show videos. This is a list with links on it for videos that I show in order to go over the different parts of the essay. And then they have an outline structure that they fill out. They do a self-edit. And of course, it's graded with a rubric. We should always be grading with a rubric. Another lifesaver is mentor sentences. So a mentor sentence is a superbly written sentence. So instead of students finding what's wrong, we used to write out grammar and have them find what was wrong with the sentence. We now have them copy down a beautifully written sentence by an author that's of an appropriate grade level for the students. And students find what's right about the sentence. So they identify the different components, grammar, mechanics, all that. And they write out what the impact is. So if it's an exclamation point or if it's an all caps lock, they write out what the impact is as a result of that grammar choice. And then they mimic the sentence by writing their own. And these are great. So you can see them here. I have different examples with different authors, Kwame Alexander, here, Jason Reynolds. You want to make sure, here's Alan Gratz, refugee. You want to make sure that you use up-to-date authors that students can connect to. So I have about 31 of those on hand that are great if I ever have extra time, or they're a great way to start or end class or work through a transition. And then I have a grammar guide. Now you might be thinking, well, you don't do grammar in high school, and no, you don't. But students still need a review for grammar. And so I provide them with a guide that they can check while they're doing their writing. For example, if I were to ask you, are seasons capitalized? Would that be a yes or a no? Sometimes we just can't remember. And for the record, no, seasons are not capitalized. But students are able to look that up if necessary. So in the grammar guide, I just cover basic capitalization, commas, colons, semicolons, brackets, just all the basics of grammar. Do nows. Do nows are similar to journal responses. But the thing about do nows is that students have a specific protocol that they follow every time they see a do now up on the board. So as soon as they see the do now, it signals to them, take out my notebook, take out my pen and pencil, write for 10 minutes straight without talking, and I get credit, no credit, as long as I'm writing for the 10 minutes straight. So I have many do nows. And so again, I can either start class this way to calm them down. I can use them in the middle of class for a transition, or I can use them at the end of class if we have time. And an example would be, I'll go ahead and read one. Now I use very philosophical like questions or prompts so that they can use critical thinking skills and really try to be more creative. This is supposed to be, or I prefer this to be, a more creative assignment. So can we remember something we can't imagine? What makes us able to imagine something? Why do we say it came back to me? Why do we use the word flood when describing a sudden memory? Can you have the same memory twice? Write about a memory that you have shared with someone who was part of the memory and they remembered it different than you did. So they read, they think about the different questions, and then they write about an experience for 10 minutes. So those are the do nows. So just to recap, we had OnePager. We have the different outlines and templates for the essays. We have mentor sentences. We have the do nows. And that, as long as you have the philosophical chairs, and that is what you need as your survival kit to teach English language arts curriculum high school. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.